Paul, get one more in here. And
I will. So
Dan,
give us a sense. What did you hear from Nvidia last night? They beat numbers. Maybe the guidance wasn't where the street was expecting, but what did you really take away from Nvidia last night?
So 3 things. One, demand. Because the question is there double ordering? What is enterprise demand? Demand's actually accelerating. And there's no better perch in terms of everything we're seeing from AI than what Jensen sees. 2, Blackwell, all the fears, right? The worries. Is that getting delayed? They essentially put those fears to rest. And that was so important.
Okay.
You know I'm the only one that does math with you, not all this fancy Dan Ives talk. You take the 10 billion share buyback of Apple, they've been doing it for years, divided by free cash flow. You take a 50 billion statistic divided by Nvidia's free cash flow. To me, it was a ginormous announcement. Everybody's saying it's not a big deal. Was a share buyback a big deal?
It's a monster deal, and also, this also goes to...
This video delves into Nvidia's significant role in the AI and semiconductor space, where it holds a competitive edge and drives substantial market demand. Analysts discuss Nvidia's stock performance, with some experts setting high price targets due to anticipated growth in AI demand. The conversation highlights Nvidia's recent financial performance, including stock buybacks and projected revenue growth, as indicators of the company's strong market position. Key insights focus on Nvidia's upcoming developments, such as the Blackwell chip, which is expected to meet high demand and boost revenue. Analysts believe Nvidia will maintain its leadership in AI, despite intensifying competition from companies like AMD and Intel. Additionally, the conversation includes predictions about Nvidia's role in reshaping data centers through accelerated server adoption and innovations in generative AI. The discussion also addresses Nvidia's long-term potential, as demand for AI-related technologies rises. Analysts suggest that Nvidia's continued success will depend on its ability to adapt and lead in new applications like industrial AI and enterprise-driven AI solutions.
We're going to get right to this right now. Dan Ives joins us from Wedbush here, all over the media, of course, as we go into the Mag 8 frenzy. Warren Buffett, he's part of the Mag 8 right now. 65 buys on Nvidia, 8 holds, no sells. Now, you don't follow Nvidia. You've got a thug at Wedbush that follows it, right?
Yeah, so our view in Nvidia, we have a $138 price target. Bull case is $175.
Bernstein went to $150 this morning.
And I think this is just a start. I mean, look, I think this, by the end of the day, or even in the next 24 hours, this is a stock that should be in the green based on everything we saw from Godfather of AI, Jensen Nvidia.
Well, you're talking about 2 of my favorite names right there, NVIDIA and AMD. NVIDIA just sounds like it's great. I mean, you know, congrats to you to have that great interview the other night with him saying the word insane. I loved that. That sort of tells you what you need to know. Our checks on Blackwell are great, and everybody wants it. That should drive some significant sequential growth in January and then again in April. And then we think the gross margin starts to improve quite a bit on the back of Blackwell after a quarter or 2, and that'll get the stock going again. So, you know, we feel pretty good there. We know some folks have voiced some concerns on your network as well, but we're seeing, really good demand. And remember, OpenAI just launched a bunch of stuff, and we're not even inferencing with that stuff yet. And Apple, is getting out Apple Intelligence, which hopefully drives some of the OpenAI. So we feel good there. And on AMD, they got a big event next week. We don't think they're bringing us out there, to lay an egg. And we think that last year on that event, it really popped. And, there is room for number 2 there. So we feel good about AMD as well.
Speaking of Jensen Huang, here he is with us just a couple days ago.
This is the beginning of a new wave called enterprise AI. And then after that, as we're entering into enterprise AI, we'll simultaneously developing, cultivating the wave after that, which is industrial AI.
So we've got industrial AI that Jensen is talking about. We've also got Apple Intelligence and perhaps an application-driven consumer AI wave. Which is more investable?
Well, I think it's all investable. I think a lot of stuff gets started in consumer, and then it creates actually a lot of interest in the enterprise. And just like what happened when we had the Chat GPT mania, then a bunch of enterprises woke up to it. I think as as consumers start using visual intelligence from Apple, as well as from Google, their version of that, and those kind of things where you're seeing things with your phone and then asking questions about it. That's going to drive a lot more awareness of AI in general. And I think in enterprise, you're going to start seeing many enterprises want to work with small language models so they can cater it to their industries. And then you're going to also see more adoption of the NVIDIA NIMs architecture, which is really going to fuel more enterprise adoption. And we're in the early innings there. We haven't even seen the interest in AI agents, which are autonomous, really pick up. And that's going to be huge. You've been hearing a lot about it from Benioff. I actually think Microsoft's going to drive that more than a SaaS company. We're just in the early innings, John, on so many things. I'm pretty excited.
I think there's two angles. One is how strong are its customers? How strong is demand going to be? And then you've got, I guess, competitors to NVIDIA that want to get into the same business. And on both of those metrics, I think you think NVIDIA is well positioned. They're still the leader, and demand is still going to be strong.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. I think the key is that their customers are in a race to re-architect the data center and replace traditional servers with accelerated servers. This movement had started about a year or two ago, and then as soon as we started to see the improvements in generative AI and these large language models, which, by the way, the computing requirements to train some of these models are growing 4 to 5 times a year. So this is not your, Moore's law progressing every 2 years. This is technology that is changing every, is 4 to 5 times a year. So we need to throw a ton of computing infrastructure, and it is not just the processors, it is networking, it is optics, it is software, it is developers, it is bringing it all together. And in our mind, there is only one company that can bring it all together. This is expensive, no doubt. We are going from capital intensity for a lot of these cloud players that used to be 9 or 10%, and now it's 15 or 16%, right? CapEx is growing 50+% a year. But we do think that this is very important for them. It can open up new revenue opportunities, and this build out and re-architecting can last at least through the next decade, with a 4 to 5 year of initial build out and then a lot more success-based build out.
Obviously, that's great news, and good news for my next guest. I'm going to bring in Gabelli Growth Funds Portfolio Manager John Belton. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You've got a lot of NVIDIA, right? This is one of your favorite ideas right now.
Yeah, one of our biggest positions in all of our growth funds at Gabelli.
The narrative over the Wall Street narrative has been the play is over. Not necessarily, we see the orders. Obviously, the orders are mind-boggling, but that this is sort of a toppy-ish kind of thing. It can't last forever. The stock is ahead of itself. How much of that concerns you?
Well, let's just go back to what CEO Jensen Huang said this week on CNBC. He said the demand for their chips right now is insane.
Insane.
It's a pretty strong word.
Yeah. Well, I never heard of that network you're talking about, but I did hear the word insane before in a commercial. I had fun with this. Before you were born, there was this retail outlet called Crazy Eddie, and the guy used to come on TV and say, our prices are insane. Then they went out of business. It was a scam and everything. So
I think it's a different kind of insane he's talking about here.
Okay. Is he laying it on too thick?
Well, I mean, we can talk about NVIDIA. I think we're still early innings in the AI. I think AI is a technology that's going to have very deep and long-lasting impacts for many years, and NVIDIA is going to be one of the prime beneficiaries of that. But I think stepping back, I was watching one of your earlier guests talk about the Magnificent Seven, talking about being kind of long in the tooth in that rally. I think I would actually defend a lot of those stocks. I think NVIDIA included. And maybe let's remove Tesla from the conversation. We can call it the six-pack. These are companies with really strong revenue growth, strong margins, still expanding margins, good shareholder-friendly capital allocation policies. And year to date, I think they've generated more of the index's earnings growth than they have the index's performance. So I think the fundamentals really do justify the stock performance year to date for these stocks.
By the way, I agree with you. I think it's amazing. Everyone's saying, the 493 are going to have pretty strong earnings growth at the end of the year, and still the Mag 7 will probably enjoy better growth at a much more complicated.
Well, and I think you could also say earnings expectations. The Mag 7 have been over delivering on expectations. The S&P 493 has actually missed expectations versus the start of the year.
Which Nvidia and AMD outperforming today. They're two of the top stocks in the S&P 500 over the past month. Both are also scheduled to hold AI events early next week. So could that be the next catalyst for these names? Joining us now is head of Melius Tech Research, Ben Reitzes. Ben, happy Friday. We've talked to Nvidia this week. We've talked about Nvidia a lot this week. Where's the opportunity in chips across Nvidia, which has already been huge? Then you got AMD, and you got Intel, which hasn't been doing so well.
In summary, Nvidia is positioned as a major player in the AI and semiconductor sectors, with experts anticipating sustained growth driven by high demand for its advanced chip. The company's recent financial performance and strategic moves, such as stock buybacks and the upcoming Blackwell chip launch, suggest a strong outlook in the AI market. Analysts see Nvidia not only as a leader in hardware but as a crucial enabler of AI adoption across industries. Looking forward, Nvidia's role in reshaping data centers and fueling generative AI applications solidifies its importance in the tech landscape. As demand rises, Nvidia's ongoing innovation and ability to scale will determine how it meets competition and expands into areas like enterprise and industrial AI. Do you think Nvidia's growth in AI will continue at this pace, or will competition slow it down? How do you see Nvidia's technology impacting industries beyond tech, such as healthcare or manufacturing?